Good everyone. I hope you're having an amazing day. So today I'll be talking about the navigation aspects of the VisualForce page. So this is just a theory session. So I don't want to create a new slide. So I thought I might as well tell you guys from what's happening behind the scene using a Trailhead page. So when you think about the navigation, right, what comes to your mind? Navigation, in simple terms, you navigate from one place to another place, right? So, from a Salesforce perspective, let's say you are an account object, you click on contact, it will take you to the contact record, right? So, that's a kind of a navigation. Um, but that being said, the Visual Force page navigation works a bit different in a classic environment as well as in the Lightning environment, right? So, the way it works in a excuse me, the way it works in a classic environment, as you can see here. So so it's actually everything is it's like an action method, right? It just says that what happens at the end of an action method. That's exactly what that happens in classic Visual Force navigation. So usually an action methods, doesn't mean only for the custom code you write. Could be from a standard controller. It returns the page reference object could be for a standard account or could be contact or right, and then where the user wants to be navigated to. So, and then what happens is that the Visual Force, like it says, handles the details of sending the response back to the user. So this is what happens in pretty much in a classic Salesforce navigation environment. So everything's to do with the page reference. So page reference, which actually decides where the user wants to be navigated to, right? So for instance, if they wanted to go to an account or a contact, right? So that's one of the classic Visual Force page navigation. But that being said, when it moves to Lightning, things changes. Okay, in Lightning, so what happens is that they use a mostly the navigation using events, right? And the event framework normally make use of the JavaScript utility object, and the JavaScript utility object has a lot of methods, right? It's very different to the classic Visual Force navigation where we talked about the page reference. So in this case, what happens is that like as you can see, we're talking about the Lightning experience. So it makes use of like I said, an event, make use of a JavaScript utility object, and the utility object performs different operation, right? So for instance, okay, it has a back function, navigate to URL, navigate to specific URL. I mean, you don't have to remember this, you can Google it. You just have to understand the concept, right? It's a little bit different compared to, normal classic environment. We're not talking about the classic, but in normal Visual Force classic navigation. But in the Lightning, it changes. It uses JavaScript utility object, so which has different functions. You can make use of this function, right, to do your navigation operation, like you said, navigate to feed or to a URL or or to a details, right, feed item details, right, navigate to list, edit record. So this is something you should know, from a functionality perspective that is something is available, but you don't have to remember everything. It's not a memorizing game, right? I just wanted to make one thing clear. You just have to understand if someone asks you, okay, can you tell me like how it works in Lightning? So you can't really say that, oh, okay, it uses the page reference, it does this, it doesn't work that way because it uses and it events to navigate using a JavaScript utility object. Okay, so and also it says that S4 object is automatically added to the VisualForce page when they run in Lightning experience. That's pretty simple. Okay, so that's how the functionality and behavior is when it comes to the Lightning environment. So, and one of the few things, a couple of not few things, just one important thing you have to understand that you cannot set Windows location directly if you are using it in the Lightning environment because that option is not available, right? So that's exactly what it says. The first rule of building VisualForce navigation in JavaScript: do not set Windows location directly. For whatever reason, if you wanted to do it, please do not do it, right? Because you can't access it. There is no option. The page does not have the Windows location to set. If you try to do that, it will give an exception, so it doesn't work. Okay, so that's one of the things you have to keep into consideration. So, this is a pretty simple topic. I just wanted to get your attention. Um, you know, that's and then there's another thing. Um, so the classic issue. There's one thing, Salesforce utility. There's it's not available when your page runs in the Salesforce Classic, which you have to remember. If someone asks you, oh yeah, the Salesforce utility object is available on Salesforce Classic, right? If someone says yes, they say, hang on a second, that option is not available in Classic. It's only available in the Lightning experience, right? So in this context, they said to use Windows Store location, right? So compared to the other one what we talked about just right now. So you have to, understand this concept when you are moving your VisualForce page. When you're dealing with the navigation across the Lightning environment, because you can't build just keeping the Classic into consideration. But Classic is a legacy technology, right? Um, so another thing, uh, you know, so see, do not use static URL for Salesforce resource. That's one of the things you have to give into consideration. In VisualForce markup, use this one, okay, and JavaScript use navigate to, okay. So that's pretty basic. I understand that you might felt, oh, this is a boring lecture, but if I comes to you and say, look, we are trying to build a navigation, VisualForce page in the Lightning environment. Can I use, Windows Store location? If you said yes, then yeah, right. So that's one of the thing I will say now you can't use it because it doesn't work. Okay, so and what functions can we use a function to move to a URL or move to a feed? Now, sorry, navigate to a feed item. Can we do that on a Lightning experience using S subject S4.1? Yeah, we can do that. So that's the one thing you just have to go through it. So I mean, you might be wondering, right, why this guy don't teach using slide. I don't like wasting time creating slide. It's just a duplication of work, and there's no point in saying that it's my work. It's not my work. It's just the copy paste from what I have in the trailer. So I might as well teach you guys from trailer, right? Why to create a slide. Some people do that. I don't. I just prefer to do, you know, jump into the code and show you how the code works. And if there's a theory involved, I try to teach you directly from the trailhead, or if it needs a Jamboard, I use Jamboard, right? That's my approach because I'm a pretty old school guy. I like to do things in a pretty different way. I mean, everyone is different, right? So that's all right, guys. This is pretty much all I wanted to talk about today. I hope you guys have an amazing Wednesday. Adios.